Welcome to Tyne Valley Motorhomes. I'm Callum and I'm here to present the handover of the Devon Sapphire. So starting on the driver's side of the vehicle first, this is your auto gas filling point. So as this vehicle is fitted with a 25 litre underslung gas tank, it doesn't take a bottle. So to fill it, you've got to go to your local LPG centre and then remove the cap. It's a bayonet fitting, so the fitting on the pump is like a big bayonet gun. And what you've got to do is you've got to slide that on and twist the front nozzle so it locks onto the bayonet fitting before pulling the trigger back to pressurise the point, and then you would simply press and hold the button on the display at the pump until it cut out. Once it cuts out and stops filling, it is full. So normally from empty, these take about £23, £24 to fill, depending on how much you're paying for LPG. But you can download an app on your phones and it'll find all the LPG centres in the UK. But if you do take it abroad, LPG out there, you can find one near enough at every station. But that's how you would fill your gas system for the vehicle. This is your cowl flue for your boiler. Your boiler operates on both gas and electric. But on gas, this allows the fumes out of the vehicle. So just make sure that's always obstruction free. Using the keys, you've got your habitation key here, which is your black key, which opens and unlocks your cassette locker. So this is your WC door for your cassette. And with this cassette, you've got a separate header tank. So to fill your flush, this is where you'd put your water. So what I would do is carry a small jug or a small watering can. And if you've bought the blue goes in the cassette, but you can normally buy the Thetford blue and the Thetford pink. The pink, I would put a bit of pink into here and then flush it with some water so you're diluting it. And you'll be able to see the level in your fresh water flush here. So it goes right the way up to there, and that is your fresh water flush tank capacity, which you fill from here. So dilute a bit of pink in, that'll go to a pinky liquid, and then when you flush, you'll get a bowl cleaner and a fragrant neutralizer coming out of the flush of the toilet. When the cassette is full, to empty, you'd lift the green clip, slide the cassette out, and then you've got a handle, so you can lift the handle up so you don't have to carry it, and you can drag it to your disposal point, which is normally beside your toilet block on site. And then to empty, remove the cap, pop the cap to one side for a moment, press the green button at the back and pour the contents of the cassette out. Once you've done that, if you do, just put some water in, because there's normally a tap there, so pop it under the tap, put a bit of water in, give it a rinse, tip out again, before going in with a cap full of blue or green chemical. This cap capacity is 120 ml. You can measure it if you want, or you can just put some chemical in there to what you think is 120 ml, and then you just simply put the cassette back into the vehicle and you can use the cassette. Always keep an eye on your flush liquid in case you do need to top the flush up. So that's why I always say it's good to carry a watering can, because you can dilute it with the pink and pour that in. Charging the vehicle or hooking it up on a site is all done through the hookup point. So to get mains on board, this is your mains connection, this is your mains hookup lead. You'd lift the collar, slide it onto the vehicle, hook the motorhome up first and then the site, and do it in reverse order when unhooking, so that you're never walking around with a live lead. If you're lucky enough to keep this at home and you plan on going away, a few days before, hook the vehicle up. This will allow the leisure battery to take a decent charge, and you'll have a full leisure battery when you leave home. And when you are unhooking, if you do, just pull, there's a little blue clip there, so you can push it up or you can push it down and unhook the vehicle safely. On the back of the vehicle, you do have your high-level reversing camera above your brake light, and then it is fitted with a Brink tow bar with 7-pin electrics, and you've got a handy step there, and you've got rear parking distance sensors on the bumper. Coming round to the passenger side back of the vehicle, this is your external gas point. So if you plan on doing a bit of al fresco outside dining with your Cassette or external barbecue, you can get a bullfinch connection which fits in here, and then you'd need some gas rubber hosing and 2 Jubilee clips to secure the fitting onto the pipe and the fitting on the pipe onto the barbecue even. And then this will use the gas from the gas tank, so it saves you carrying a spare bottle on board for your barbecue. This is your water filling point. So your fresh water fill up, using the key, the square key, you can remove this cap, pop the flat end of the hose into the van and connect the other end to the tap. You'll need a few connections as there's a few different taps on site throughout the UK. So carry an assortment of connections. Always leave the end that you put in the motorhome with nothing on, the flat end into the van, and wait until it either overflows or until you're happy that there is enough water on board, which you can see on your main control panel on board, and then you know how full your freshwater tank is. To drain your wastewater off, you've got this little tap here, so this is your wastewater, so you just open it up over the grid on the way out of your site and allow your wastewater out. You never want to be driving around with wastewater because it's only going to add weight to the vehicle. It's not needed once it's used, so dirty water, once it's dirty, you can't use it again. So allow it out and get rid of it, because it's just going to add weight to the vehicle and use more fuel. To access the vehicle, you have a electric slide out folding step. So to slide the step away, there's a little switch here just behind the driver's seat, and you can take it in, and then once the engine's off, you can bring it back out. It won't come out with the engine being on, as it's a safety feature. And there'll be a safety feature whereas when you start the engine, it will retract. To fill the vehicle with fuel, it's at the passenger door. Remove the cap, put the fuel nozzle in there and fill it with diesel. Got a bit of storage underneath the seat, but nothing really there, so it's access to the Mercedes wiring loom. Your bonnet release, however, is here. So this is your bonnet release. And your engine battery, with it being a Merc, is underneath the floor. So it gives a diagram there, a little picture of a battery. This cover will lift up, and the battery will be underneath a panel, so there'll be a panel with some 10mm bolts on. You need to lift the cover off to access the battery, but it is in the cab floor with it being a Sprinter. So with it being a new Sprinter, the newest shape available, and it being a diesel engine, it does have AdBlue. So AdBlue can be filled through here, and you can buy AdBlue either in the drums, so you can get it in 5 or 10 litres, and you get a nozzle on the back there, so you connect that to the drum and pour the contents of AdBlue in. Or you can buy it on the pumps now, like wagons and buses. which is about 150 a litre. You pop the gun in and you fill it until it's full. So that's your AdBlue filling point. This is your coolant. This is your brake fluid. You do have your screen wash here. To open the bonnet, in the passenger footwell, you've got this lever here. Give the lever a pull. Put your stay in place to keep the bonnet up. And then underneath the bonnet, you've got your brake fluid, your coolant, your screen wash. And then to jump start the vehicle, with it being a Mercedes, you've got a positive pole. So you put your red clip onto there, push this back, put your clip onto there, and then put your negative earthing point just inside the wing. You'd earth off that. And then because this vehicle is a 2020 model, it's got the latest Euro 6 engine, which takes AdBlue. So the AdBlue filler is here, and it'll illuminate on the dash and tell you when it needs AdBlue. AdBlue can be found on the pump, so you can fill it on the pump in the petrol stations, because the wagons and trucks take AdBlue, and most new cars and commercials do as well. Or you can buy it in drums from your local car factors, likes of Halfords, the petrol forecourt, Euro car parts. You can buy them in 10 or 5 litre capacities. And all you do is, there's a nozzle, you pop that on the top of the drum, pour it in. The capacity of this tank is 22 litres. So it takes 22 litres to fill it from empty. But you're probably never filling it from empty, you're probably filling it, so it's probably going to take a good 15 to 17 litres if you leave it to go low to top it back up. But you fill your AdBlue through here. If you leave it and let the AdBlue run out completely, the engine won't start. So do keep an eye on the AdBlue level on the dashboard, and it'll tell you when it needs to be refilled. So to operate this type of 12-volt control panel, which is a Sargent control panel, to turn the control panel on and off, you've got your master switch here, and this turns on your 12-volt. If you're hooked up, then you will get mains to your 3-pin plugs and all mains appliances that are on board. If you're not, you will just get 12-volt off the leisure battery. Click here and you can view your leisure battery reading, but always make sure that the vehicle is unhooked to get a true reading. Otherwise, this gives a false reflection of what charge is in the battery. So unhook it and then you'll get a true reflection of how much charge is in the leisure battery. You can view your vehicle battery reading here as well, and you can also swap it so it uses the vehicle battery to power the motorhome side. This is more for an emergency. I wouldn't recommend doing it all the time, otherwise it can flatten the engine battery. Whereas the leisure battery is your additional auxiliary battery, and it's what it's designed to do, power the motorhome caravan side of the conversion. Here you've got your pump, so you need to turn your pump on to use your water system, because this pressurizes the water through the taps, toilet, shower. Without this on, you'll get no water physically coming through the taps. You'll just get whatever's left in the lines. And to view your water level, you can press here and you can view there. So we've probably got about 30 litres of water on board. So at the front of the van, you've got your gas level indicator. So you can see there that you've got half a tank of gas in your 25 litre underslung tank. So when that goes to empty, you know it's time to refill the gas system. And that'll go all the way to full once you fill the tank up. This is your thermostat, so this picks up the temperature of the inside of the vehicle. So that'll kick in and out when you've got the heating on, depending on how hot the inside of the vehicle reaches, when it reaches optimum temperature that you've selected, or whether it drops and you've got to kick it, it's got to kick back in. Truma gas, so this is your gas shut off. So without this turned on, you'll get no gas around the vehicle. This has got to be turned on like so, and then you'll get gas supply to all your gas appliances on board. This shuts off your gas supply from your tank, so if you're going away on a ferry or anything, just turn that off and it'll isolate the gas, and also do that before travelling, so it's safer for you and other road users. This switch here is very important, so it'll make more sense in the next clip where I'm going to show you how to operate the Truma iNet digital control panel. But you've got to turn this on because this gives power to the boiler on mains voltage. Without this turned on, you cannot use EL1 and EL2 on your energy sources, on your heating and hot water. You'll only be able to select gas. So once that's turned on, it'll send a feed to the boiler of electric, and you'll be able to use electric if you're on a site to heat your water and heat the vehicle. Without that, it won't work, and it'll only be able to select gas. It will fail, meaning it's not picking up mains voltage. That is the main fuse for the mains, so make sure you turn that on when you arrive on your site, and then you can select your heating and hot water on the panel. So I'm going to go to the next clip, which is a standard clip of how to operate your Truma digital CP iNet control panel. So to operate your digital Truma CP control panel, to turn the system on and off, you'd press and hold to turn it off, press it once to turn it on and it'll come on, and then to get into the menu you just press it once. You'll notice you've got a thermometer in a van flashing at the top corner. If you press enter, this is how hot you want your vehicle. So you've got all the way off in the summer when you don't want the heating, or you've got all the way to 30 degrees in the winter when it's very cold. So once you're happy, so if we say 27 degrees there, that's how hot I want the inside of the motorhome to be, I'd press enter, and that'll save that at 27 degrees. Now you've got a thermometer in some water. This is how hot you want your water. So if you don't have any water on board, you'd have it on off. 40 degrees for showering, 60 degrees for doing your dishes, but it's entirely up to yourself how hot you want your water. Or you've got boost, which will turn off your heating and prioritize your water first. But for this we'll just say 60 degrees because we want the heating to run along with the water. Next you've got what source you're heating the water and the vehicle off. So you've got gas, so make sure your gas bottle's on and it's turned on. You've got mix 1, which is 750 watts of electric and gas. You've got mix 2, which is 1850 watts of electric plus gas. So you'd use mix 2 in the winter. If you're away and it was really cold, use a mix 2. Will boost the vehicle up to temperature because you're using both sources together. Then you can turn it over to electric. So you've got electric 750 watts EL1, and you've got EL2, which is 1850 watts of electric. Don't waste your gas if you're on a site, unless you're away and it's really cold and you're using mix 2 for the first 10-15 minutes. Then allow electric to continue to heat the motorhome and maintain the temperature. Because if you're on a site, you've paid your site fees after all, you'll not want to waste your gas. Then you've got your fan in the top right hand corner, so eco or high or boost. This is just a 12 volt assisted fan. So eco will use less 12 volt. High obviously uses more fan speed, so it's going to use a little bit more 12 volt. And boost uses full power on the fan, which is going to use the most out of the 12 volt battery. Sleep with it on eco because it's a lot quieter than sleeping with it on anything else. If you're going to sleep with the heating on in the winter, you've got a timer so you can time the heating to come on and off, just the once though. Clock in the middle, and then spanner. You can go all the way down to reset, and to reset the control panel, if you ever get a warning triangle in the middle, reset, preset, click again, and it will restart your control panel. And then to turn off, press and hold and it'll say off and it'll completely turn itself off. So in the kitchen, once you've had your hot water on, you'll be able, and you pump on, you'll get a pressurized flow of water, and that water is red hot, so that is working as it should. And you've got your plug on the chain there, so you can put that in the top or the bottom. Cutlery drawer, that is your bullfinch fitting for your external gas supply for your barbecue. Storage in there, and then you do have a large storage cupboard at the bottom. And then for cooking, you've got your Truma, or should I say Fetfed Caprice Mark III oven. So you've got one electric hot plate, which is this one here, and illuminates. So you've got to be hooked up, and that'll work the hot plate at the back. So if you're on a site, instead of wasting your gas, you can use electric. And then you do have, starting off with the hob, we'll 3 lit gas rings. Allow everything to cool on the top before you put the glass lid down, otherwise you will shatter the glass. And then underneath, you've got your grill, and underneath your grill you do have your oven. Some storage under here, so you've got your main isolation plug for your electric hot plate. Should that be causing any issues, you can just unplug it. And then this side you do have your gas isolation taps. So if you wanted to isolate one of those, you can just turn it this way, and that's it isolated. Turn it the other way and that is open. But these are mainly for when the vehicle is annually serviced. The technician will test each gas appliance by closing them and doing a gas reading just to make sure that gas appliances are working as they should. To operate your Dometic fridge, so your Dometic fridge is 3 ways, so you can use it on 3 sources. So you can use it on mains as a household fridge. If you were at home pre-chilling, or you were on a site and you've paid your site fees, why waste your gas? Use mains. You can use gas if you are wild camping, and then when you travel, as long as it's chilled, so you've gone to one site and another, or you've gone from home and you've had it pre-chilled and you're going to your first site, you can travel with it on battery and acts as a giant toolbox. So to select the sources, first of all you turn your fridge on here, and then you can select either mains if you were on a site or you were pre-chilling it at home a few days before. Hook the van up, put the fridge on and allow it to chill for a couple of days. Not only does it allow the leisure battery to charge, but you can put the fridge on and chill that down, and then the night before you can put your shopping in and allow it to chill overnight. If you were wild camping and you didn't have any access to mains, you'd have to use gas, making sure that you've got enough gas on board in your tank, and you'll hear it clicking until it ignites on the burner. And then if not, you can use battery, and that's failed because the battery isn't off the leisure battery. It's a feed off the main engine when it's running, and it's only designed to maintain the temperature. So it'll get no warmer, but it'll get no cooler. It'll just maintain the temperature until you either go back onto mains or you switch on to gas. So that'll work when the engine is physically running. You can adjust the temperature here. Obviously 5 bars being the coldest, 1 bar being the warmest. And then if you push the catch in at the top, you can open the door. And then one thing before, if you're leaving the fridge, clean it out, press the light, pull the 2 pins out on this toggle. And what that does is it doesn't allow the door to shut because it's got a rubber seal. The door's quite loose there, but it allows air to circulate in and out of the fridge to stop smells and mold from growing in there when the van is standing, not in use. So now in the washroom, to operate your bench-tiled Fetford toilet, ensuring that you've got water in the flush tank, you can press the button, and as you can see there, you're getting some water through. So always put a small amount of water in before you use the toilet. And then before you use it, this handle here is known as the blade handle, so you can open it up, do your biz, give it a good flush and close it. Always ensuring that this is closed after use, because it stops the smells and the spills, and it also locks the cassette. So when it's locked, you can get the cassette out the van. If it was to be open, so if you left that open like that, went out to pull the cassette out, it won't come out the van because the mechanism is engaged, it's open. You've got to have it closed, and then you'll be able to lift the green cap and pull the cassette straight out the side of the van. This will indicate when the cassette is full. And then you do also have your shower head, which is also your sink tap. So slide that out, you can pop that up here, shower curtain, and you can have a shower. But when you winterize the van in the winter, you want to pull this out, disconnect the shower head from the hose, unscrewing this, and lie this hose down in the tray with the mixer tap open. Stops any water from sitting in this pipe and potentially freezing, and any of the lines behind the furniture. So leave all your taps open from this tap to the kitchen tap so that nothing freezes. But you do have, you can wash your hands with it, and that is your hot water as well, red hot. Toiletry cabinet, this light turns on and off, and you do have some more toilet space underneath the sink. Ensure with the toilet surround and the shower tray that you don't use any harsh bleaches to clean these, because you will ruin the finish of it and you'll lose the shiny white and it'll stain yellow and it looks awful. So use a microfiber with some light mild soap like dishwasher soap or some Dettol wipes. Nothing, and no neat bleach or anything like that, because you will stain it. Go lightly, and no abrasive cloths or sponges, light sponges, to make sure that you don't damage the washroom, the toilets around, the shower tray and the hand basin. To fold this seat down, I've removed the backrest, but the backrest would be there in this little hole. Press here. So press against, so if you press it, you'll be able to slide it forward and lie it completely flat if you were making it into a bed. But underneath is the most important bit. This is your Truma boiler, which operates on both gas and electric, and it does hold, so it works like an old boiler, so a storage boiler. It holds 10 litres of water at any one time. In the winter, you've got to worry about that, because you don't want the water to sit in there and potentially freeze when we're experiencing cold temperatures, because you could become a victim of frost damage. And frost damage isn't covered under warranty, because it's your responsibility to drain the motorhome off. So what I would start to do is, before I've even entered the motorhome, I would drain off my waste outside. And I'd leave that tap open. I'd come in and I'd open the fresh, which I'll show you in a minute how to drain off, and I'd leave all my taps open throughout the van. And then just down here there's a blue diamond, and this diamond is on a black box, and if you put your finger right down to the bottom where mine is, there's a little blue button that pops out. The button is flush at the moment because it's holding water. If the button was to pop out, it means the valve is open. But this is an anti-frost valve, so at 3 degrees it'll automatically detect the temperature and the button will pop out, which means if you want to put your pump on, your water's just going to go straight onto the floor. So what you need to do is, what I do is to winterize it myself. When I park it away and I know I'm not going to use it for a while, I turn the diamond. The button here is popped out, because if I'm hold it, I'm stopping it. So you'd leave it and you'd let the water drain directly out underneath the chassis. And then to stop the water when you're ready to use it again, you need to put your hand in and you need to turn the diamond at the top and push the button in. If the button stays in, great. If you're doing it and you've just thought, oh, I'll have a spur of the moment weekend away, and the button doesn't stay in because it's so cold, put the heating on first. If you put the heating on first, what that'll do is it'll warm the area up, it'll warm this up. Then you'll be able to push the button in and turn the diamond, and you'll be able to fill the vehicle back with water. Once you've filled it with water, you'll have to pressurise it through your system. So you'll have to open the tap. If you open the cold first with the pump on, you'll get a cold water feed, no bother. If you go to the hot, it'll cough and splutter until you get a pressurised flow of water. So if it starts to cough and splutter the water, just let it continue to run until it gets all the air out of the boiler, and that's replenished with water. Once you get a pressurised flow like this, that tap's done. Try another tap, and then your system is primed for the season. But please drain it down in the winter, otherwise there is a chance that if your boiler gets frost damage, it breaks the boiler and you've got to replace the whole unit, which can be a costly mistake to make. So in the cupboard above your TV is your status TV aerial. So you've got a booster at the back as well, and the booster is shown green, which means you've got a signal. If it was shown orange or red, orange means you've got a signal, but it might be very weak. So what I would do is try and boost it with here. So there's a little boost on the knob, so it's an amplifier, so you can amplify the signal. Should that not change, you will then have to adjust the aerial. So to adjust the aerial, what you've got to do is, up here, you've got a nut. If you loosen the nut off, you can push the pole up, tighten the nut, and then you can use the little toggle to direct the aerial. And all that does is, it tilts the aerial from side to side, front to back. But this type of aerial is an omnidirectional aerial. So if you think of the aerial being flat, it picks up the signal all the way around the aerial, not just at the front or not just at the back. It picks it up all the way around the surface. So you can turn it to suit, and then always make sure that it's pulled in and tightened before you travel so that the wind can't damage your TV aerial. So to operate your Vision Plus TV, which is a 12 volt TV, so it's wired through a 12 volt adapter, so it'll work off the leisure battery should it have sufficient charge and when you're hooked up. But to turn it on, use the remote, press the green button, point it to the magic eye in the bottom right hand corner of the TV as you look at it. It'll turn on there, and then every time you move locations, you will have to retune your TV because it'll pick up different signals. And to do that, you'd press menu, which is this button here, and it's the first one. You want to do an auto tune, and you want to select that you're in the UK, and it'll start and find as many channels as it can in your area. So this is your freshwater tank, and you can access the tank by removing the big red nut. But to drain off your fresh water, it's not outside like your waste, it's actually behind the tank. So if you put your hand behind, there's a little yellow toggle, which looks like a boiler drain. It looks exactly like a traditional boiler drain, but it is a freshwater drain. So it drains your freshwater tank. And all you need to do is put your hand in, lift it up into that position like so, and it'll drain off the water underneath the van. So that you would do this in the winter when you're winterizing, or you do it if you've taken on a source of contaminated water and you wanted rid of it out of the tank, or simply you're not using the van for a few weeks. Just drain your water off. You don't need to have it sitting there. So just lift that up, drain it off, but remember to lie that down, flick it down so it's not like that, it's like that, and it's closed, and it means you can fill your fresh water from outside the vehicle. So underneath the opposite side, which we're on the driver's side now, underneath the bench seat, you do have the location of your leisure battery, which is in this battery box. So if you wanted access to the leisure battery, you can, or you wanted to take it off, it's just two 10mm, and you'll be able to lift the battery out and take it to put on charge in the garage if you're putting it in storage over the winter. You've got your solar controller, which is just flashing away there. The best way to keep an eye on the battery is viewing the battery status from the control panel of how much charge is in your leisure battery. AC 155 power supply unit. So this is illuminated, it means we're hooked up. So if this wasn't illuminated, you're not hooked up and you're just off your leisure battery. But if you think you're not receiving power, the best way to check that you're not receiving power is go to here and trip the van. As you can see there, the vehicle's tripped. If it didn't trip, it's not the vehicle. It's where you're getting the power from or the lead itself. But if the vehicle's tripping, it's fine, you're receiving power. If it's not, then it's not the van. All your 12 volt fuses are here and listed on what they do. So any problems with 12 volt, it might be a fuse not working. So the best way to check is pull the fuse out. So pull the fuse out. In the middle of the fuse, if it's broken, it'll not be intact. This one's fine because it's intact, but do carry some spare fuses with you in case one does blow. You can replenish the fuse. So that just slots back in there. But carry some spare fuses with you because fuses can go from time to time, and it's best to be prepared. If you're away, you can just replenish the fuse. And then to make your bed up across the back, if you don't want to use them as two singles, which you can because they're long enough, all you need to do is underneath, you'd slide the two lats out to meet, and the same at the back. So just take the turnbuckles off them on the front of the fascias of the seats, slide them together, and then you just put your infill cushion in. Here, your backrest, there's a bit of space left, so what you do is you just slide that back. So depending on which side you want to sleep on, use it as a headboard, rest your pillows up against it, and then you can have a large double bed. So this vehicle is keyless, so you can leave the keys in your pocket or you can pop them into the cup holder here, which is where the dock for the key is. And then you can hit the button with your foot on the brake and start the vehicle up. At the top here, it does tell you how much AdBlue is in your AdBlue tank. And then as it's a Mercedes, the shift for the automatic is on the, what would be in a normal car, the wiper stalk. So you can go all the way down to drive or all the way up to reverse and press park on the end of the stalk, and you'll be able to take your foot off the brake. Handbrake can be found between the seats, so you might just want to apply that when you're on a hill. When you're on the flat, you can just pop it into park and that should hold it. But if I pop the vehicle into reverse, you'll see that you've got your rear view camera and sensors, and you can change the view of the camera. So you can change the view from here to here. You've also, with it being the M-Books system, it's got navigation, DAB radio, which you can save 1 to 6 or 1 to even 9, 12 should I say, of your favourite radio stations. You can connect your phone, so you would just press here and you want to connect a new device and find Mercedes-Benz and make sure the pins match and press pair. Once they've paired, it'll sync your contacts, and when you receive a call, it'll come through here. If you're an Apple user, you can use Apple CarPlay, so press here. You've got some storage, but you've also got 2 USBs. So you've got a USB for charging, which is USB-C. So if you haven't got USB-C, either buy a new wire or buy the adapters to go on the normal USB wire. And you've got a input, so if I was to put a USB-C in there and plug it into my iPhone, it would image my phone onto here with Apple CarPlay. So it would allow me to use likes of Waves, TomTom Go from TomTom, and Apple CarPlay, all on the head unit. But it does have its standard maps from Mercedes-Benz, so you just need to press here and pop in where you want to go. So there it tells you can go to filling stations, and it'll give you a list of nearby filling stations. For this sake, we'll press SO, and we'll go,
Your route is being
and it'll
calculated.
take me to the
Please
nearest
proceed to
petrol
highlight your
station.
route.
On there as well, so you can, and you've also got voice command, so if you say, "Hey Mercedes,
How can I help you?
take me to the metro centre,"
Select an entry, please. Route guidance is starting.
so you can do that all when driving along,
Please proceed
and
to
it's
the highlighted route
now
left
programmed
and
the route to the metro
Caution,
centre
restricted
for me.
access.